Hi, everybody. It's time for Wellness Wednesday again. My name's Mike Warren, and I'm with Alternative Health Concepts. And I'm excited to be here today. Today, I want to talk a little bit about something that's been important in my life, as many of you know that have followed me and followed Alternative Health Concepts here on Facebook and also on our website. You know that my wife was battling cancer, bladder cancer, and one of the things that we had to do, or that she did right away, and I kind of followed suit, was eliminate sugar from our diets. And, you know, sugar is just one of these things that is just really bad for us. And I wanted to go over just a few statistics with you today and maybe give you just a little incentive to try and start cutting it out. It's not easy to do. It's not something that happens quickly. Some of us, it's easier than others. It was a major life-changing event when my wife was diagnosed with cancer. So we kind of dropped everything that we were doing and focused in on what we could do to eliminate or help her eliminate the cancer, help the body eliminate the cancer, because that's what our bodies are perfectly designed to do. One of the first things that we found out was that sugar feeds cancer. Now, you'll hear it in different areas that that's not true, or this or that, and in some cases, doctors will say, eat whatever you want if you have cancer, but the facts remain the same, and there's just too many studies to know, we know that sugar does feed cancer. And there's the way the body metabolizes sugar is not any different. So in other words, you eat an apple or you eat a teaspoon of sugar, your body is going to treat both of those the same. They're both sugars, refined sugars, highly refined sugars, genetically modified sugars like beets and corn, which most of the sugar, at least in the United States, is made from today, are harder for our body to digest and to assimilate. And what it does is it ends up storing the sugar as fat. And that's why we are fatter than we've ever been, because almost everything that you eat today that's processed particularly is full of sugar. It's funny, I don't know that where they got the statistic, but I want to share something with you that I found was pretty interesting. Bear with me a minute. I don't want to cheat you on this, but in 1890, 3 in 100,000 people here in the United States were diagnosed with diabetes. In 2012, 8,000 in 100,000 people were diagnosed with diabetes, and it's even higher 5 years later in 2017, but I haven't got those statistics. But I just wanted to share that with you because it's absolutely staggering, the difference. And one other statistic that was interesting that I found out about, and honestly, I don't know how they figured this out. They were talking about hunter-gatherers, our ancestors, and they said that we ate back then, I think they just from the berries and different things that we could find. Obviously, there was no refined sugar when we were hunter-gatherers, but we ate an equivalent of about 20 teaspoons of sugar a year. Okay, just kind of keep that in your head, 20 teaspoons of sugar a year. Today, these are from statistics in 2017, primarily here in the United States, but it is worldwide. It's becoming a problem all over the world. Today, we eat over 150 pounds of sugar per person per year, or a half a pound a day. Our average elementary school kids eat 34 teaspoons of sugar every single day. Sugar's been linked with all kinds of diseases, and the problem why it's so addictive, it does things in the brain in the same areas of highly addictive drugs like cocaine, for example. And there are studies that show that sugar is even more addictive than cocaine. So you can imagine when we get in our lifestyle and we're sitting out there and we're going and we're highly stressed, we're running off to the office to go to work in the morning, we're eating fast food at lunch, we're maybe grabbing a coffee because we're feeling down on the way home and we're filling it up with sugar and who knows what else they add to those coffee drinks these days. But the point is that we've got this crazy sugar cycle that we're going up and down and up and down, and it just we take more sugar in because we're addicted to it, because it does things in our brain. It releases chemicals that make us feel good, dopamine being one of them, and those chemicals want us to have more. So it's a vicious cycle. Now you combine that with the bad bacteria that are in our gut. Remember, you'll know this from past videos that I've done, that 70 to 85% of our immune system resides in our intestinal tract, in our gut. So what that means is, as long as we keep feeding sugar into ourselves, our bad bacteria is getting all this, it's just growing and growing and multiplying. So what does that do to all the good beneficial bacteria in our gut? Well, it starts dying off because the bad bacteria overtakes it. And that's one thing that you've got to do. And I'm not going to get into that today, but I just want to let you know kind of how bad it is. It's one of those things that is just so pervasive now because we're getting it from all sides. We've got the big food manufacturers, the fast food companies, pretty much everything that you do. If you go in a grocery store, if you're shopping in the middle and not on the side, you've heard going to shop from the perimeter of the store, where your fresh fruits and vegetables are, your fresh dairy, your fresh meats. Those type of things are what you want. You want to eat whole foods, organically grown. Stay away from the processed foods if you can. It's just one of the things you need to do. Now, I just want to give you an example of how kind of what getting off of sugar can do. I told you my wife was diagnosed a year and a half, almost 2 years ago now, with the cancer. And when we cut off sugar, and I was kind of doing it at first, but she went all in, just eliminated all grains, because there's a lot of sugars and hidden in grains. You don't think of it, wheat, bread. You don't even think of sugar, but it's so pervasive in the bread and grains that when we eat grains, it metabolizes in. It's a carbohydrate. Carbohydrate's sugar. We need sugars. We need those for our body. We need it for our cells at the cellular level. But these refined sugars, when you have refined breads, when you refine any grain product, those sugars become more activated, and they get into our body quicker. It's just a manifestation of what happens when you eat that sugar. It just goes right into your body. It goes into your bloodstream faster. Your body has to produce insulin. The more insulin you produce, the more the body needs more sugar, and it just is a vicious cycle. And literally, you can get to the point where your pancreas will just stop producing insulin, and that's when you become full-blown diabetic. And as you know, diabetes now is just an epidemic, and it's all from sugar. We know that if you cut out sugar, it only takes 10 days, by the way. If you can eliminate sugar, 10 days, you're going to start feeling better. Now, in the last 4 months, 5 months maybe, for myself, I've cut out, for the most part, most of my sugars. I still eat fruit, obviously vegetables, and those type of things. There are sugars in those. Those are carbohydrates. And your body reacts to it. The difference between eating an apple and a pint of ice cream, for example, or even a half a pint of ice cream, or a quarter of a pint, as they say, as the serving is, unlike on Haagen-Dazs. you're getting so much sugar in that little bit, and it's refined sugar. In some cases, it's high fructose corn syrup, which does even more bad things to you than just plain sugar does, because of the chemicals involved and everything else. It's really a frankenfood at that point. It's just horrible for you. But so you eliminate the sugars, and what I've done is I've eliminated all the sugars for the most part. No grains, very little grains. I do cheat sometimes. I'm a bread guy. I love bread. So occasionally I'll do that. But I've lost about 35 pounds in the last 5.5, 6 months. I need to go back a little further. But why that's so important is because it was with one thing. I just eliminated the sugar. And what happens was my inflammation went down. Sugar is highly inflammatory. It does things in your body. It causes inflammation. We know that inflammation is the root cause of all disease. I read a statistic the other day. I don't have the study in front of me, but I can sure get it if anybody wants to know what the study was. But 85% of all disease you can eliminate just by nutrition, what you put in your mouth. That was staggering to me. So out of all the stuff that we choose, that we put in our mouth, if you can eliminate one thing, sugar would be the first thing. Because if you can eliminate that sugar, you're going to start feeling better. Your gut bacteria is going to start thriving, the good bacteria. Your insulin levels are going to come down. Your insulin resistance is going to be less. You're going to feel better. Your inflammation will go down. And what inflammation does is it hurts your joints. It creates a process by which your body wants to hold on to fat. And then it takes the more sugar that you keep adding onto it, and it keeps storing that as fat. So that's why you need to eliminate the sugar, because if you've got a weight problem, you need to eliminate that and get that weight off of you. Eliminating sugar is the number one. They used to say, eat low fat, eat high grains and all that. We know that typical standard American diet, which is SAD for the acronym, SAD, Standard American Diet, is what is causing us to be sicker than we've ever been as a people. We're sicker today than we were 50 years ago. We're twice as sick as we were 100 years ago, as the one statistic showed that I read. So what do we want to do? We want to eliminate sugar. The problem with it is that sugar is so addicting, it's as hard to kick, and in some studies, it was harder for people to kick than cocaine. It's a terrible, terrible plight on our whole human family, because we've got all these food manufacturers knowing what their goal is to sell product, and they know that if they keep putting sugars in, and they can disguise sugars in all different forms. I mentioned high fructose corn syrup, even artificial sweeteners where they say it's sugar-free. You think it's healthy, but guess what? Some of these artificial sweeteners are actually worse and do more harm and cause you to be fatter than if you just ate regular sugar. So you got to be careful with that. And one of the things I would suggest, a lot of us get a ton of sugar from soft drinks. So maybe you aren't able to do like I did or my wife did and kind of cut out cold turkey. But I can tell you, if you just do one thing, if you're a soft drink drinker and you rely on that, and you know who you are, because if you are, you maybe drink a can every couple of hours, or you could be like a good friend of mine that he had a 45-minute commute to work. He didn't drink coffee, but he needed he needed that sugar fix. He would drink a 2-liter container of Coca-Cola before he got to the office in that 45-minute travel. So instead of coffee, he was drinking soda. But a lot of us, if we're soda drinkers, we'll drink it all day long, and in some cases, we're drinking instead of water. If you could do one thing today, eliminate that. Just stop drinking the soda. It's going to be hard. Your body's going to be craving it. You might even have withdrawals just from that step alone. But if you'll take it one step at a time, one day at a time, you can eliminate sugars, and you can focus your body and your mind on eating good, healthy carbohydrates, fresh fruits. When you eat an apple, it's got all the fiber in it. So what happens is it doesn't absorb into your body as fast as regular sugar, or as fast as that can of Coke or Diet Coke even. Diet soft drinks are, as I mentioned, in some cases can be worse to your body because of the chemicals now that you've induced into it, which are toxic, that hurt your body. Boom, you're even worse than you were before. So get off of that, and just try that. Try and eliminate one thing every day, and just start going, and give yourself a month or 2 months even, to where you can whittle it down to where you're only eating whole foods, hopefully organic if you can afford it, because you want to avoid the genetically modified foods, because again, those have things that aren't too good, that mess with your whole body's chemistry. But today we're just talking about sugar. So get off the sugar, eliminate the sugar, and you're going to feel better. The interesting thing is, I got one other, hold on a minute, one other thing to talk about. Since we talked about cancer a little bit, what happens in your body is cancer cells mimic, and they will start, this one study talked about insulin resistance. When we eat too much sugar, our pancreas has to create more and more insulin. The more and more insulin we create, we become more insulin resistance. So then we eat more sugar, our body creates more insulin, but our body isn't reacting to that insulin now because we're becoming insulin resistant. It's a condition that 70 million Americans today face. Now what happens is, in that cycle, once you get to a certain point, your pancreas fails and you have full-blown diabetes. When that happens, you know the rest. Everybody knows somebody that's got diabetes, and for the most part, if it's type 2 diabetes, it is totally preventative. And you can get rid of it. You can reverse it just by eliminating the sugar and getting to a whole, natural, whole food diet. Here's the thing. Healthy cells and cancerous cells, they use the hormone insulin to fuel growth. So the more you have, the more cancer grows, multiplies, and spreads. So see the correlation? Yeah, maybe sugar directly to that cell isn't going to feed the cancer, but the cancer is going to reach out and mimic that hormone insulin. And so your body's, as you produce more insulin, that the cancer cells grab onto that, and they become bigger and grow faster and become more prolific. Now, Harvard Medical School Cancer Center researchers found that 80% of all cancers mutate and mimic the effect of insulin. And it's interesting, we've gone through a period where cancer was really hot on immunotherapy, and still are, and it looks like they're making some great advances in immunotherapy and helping your body to use its own immune system to get rid of cancers. Well, now the big thing is, a big focus is on creation of an insulin inhibitor to use in cancer treatment protocols. So they realize now in cancer schools and the researchers and the scientists that if we can inhibit the insulin levels and block those off, that will help offset the cancer cells. Or the cancer cells will start dying. Well, guess what? You can do that just by eliminating sugar out of your diet. Because if you eliminate sugar, guess what? Pancreas doesn't have to produce that anymore. It doesn't have to produce as much insulin. And you get off this vicious cycle of eating sugar, producing insulin, your body requiring more sugar at that point because you crashed from the sugar. You want to eat more, produce more insulin, and you can see on and on and on before you know it, you're just in big trouble. That's all I really wanted to share with you today. I would be remiss if I didn't remind you to go to our website at alternativehealthconcepts.com or getbiopro.com, because remember, we have an immune modulating protein called BioPro Plus that will help get your body back in a state of homeostasis, where it'll start helping your body modulate its immune system and get your immune system operating to its full effect. So if you're fighting cancer, if you're fighting just even the common flu, you owe it yourself to find out what this BioPro Plus is and get yours today. Thank you for listening today. If you have any questions, oh, you know what? One thing I would like to do, because obviously just coming on impromptu, nobody really knows that I was here or talking, but maybe you're going to see this on a rerun. If you would like to see this at a certain time every Wednesday, would you just type that in for me? If there's a time that you would like, afternoons, mornings, whenever that might be, and I'll try and set a scheduled time on it, and that way maybe more people can come on live and watch it and ask questions as we go. But again, thank you for being here today, and we'll see you next Wednesday, if not before. But have a great week and get healthy. Talk to you soon.